Hi, I'm Stefan, the BMW DIY guy, and I want to show you how you can easily install the amazing upgrade from Mishimoto for your oil cooler and get ready for track season in your BMW M3, M4, or M2 Competition. All right, so let's talk about the why here really quickly before we do the work. And one thing I'm always going to say, and my car's already in the air, you're gonna have to be under the nose of your car, and you can do this work really simply with a jack and a pair of jack stands. And I really wanna stress that no matter how you get your car in the air, you have to do it safely. Do not do this work with just a jack. You don't want to bet your life on a $5 part. I have seen floor jacks fail, and they can fail very suddenly, where, you know, your car's up in the air and you're off doing something else and you hear a noise and you turn around and you look and your jack goes bang and is down. If you're underneath the car, that's a very, very bad day. So as always, when I talk about putting your car in the air, please do it safely. All right, so with that said, I love Mishimoto. They make fantastic products, and you don't have to be a track rat to want to make sure that your motor's healthy. So if you've tuned your car, you live in a hot environment, you drive a lot, or you're going to make track events or club events, maintaining your oil temperature is really, really important. And so for me, as I look to get track ready, that maintaining my oil temperature and the Mishimoto oil radiator upgrade is a huge big deal. Plus, to top it off, the install is pretty straightforward and pretty simple. So I wanted to walk you through that. I think this is a fantastic idea, especially as I'm asking more performance out of my car than stock. I want to make sure that all of the subsystems are well maintained and well supported. I think you should do the same. So that said, let's get underneath the car, let's take off the front plastics. It's really simple, and we're going to get this work done. All right, y'all, so here's the front skid plate, and here's the irony. I've had to reshoot this video because when I went to go compile the DIY, the section where it shows me crawling underneath the car and pulling this off actually got corrupted. So I lost the video, and now it's all put back together. So I'm reshooting this well after the fact. So really quickly, this is what your front skid plate cover looks like. It's super simple. And you've got a whole series of 8mm that go around the outside edges. They're very obvious which ones they are. And then you have the two E10s right there and right there. And this would be the front of the car. This would be the back of the car. And this is where you would see your oil cooler. So really super simple. Thankfully, didn't lose anything too complicated, but I wanted to make sure to show this to you. And a little bummed I lost a video. All right, so back to the regularly scheduled program. Okay, so as you can see, that plastic cover is off, but so is the radiator. So there's three 13mm bolts, one here on the left or driver's side and two on the other side that come out, and then this easily swings down, just hanging off its hoses. So there's a couple of things we're going to want to do first. First of all, you want to transfer these little brackets. This metal piece goes into a rubber grommet, so go ahead and just work that off, and then you can peel the grommet out of this and transfer it to the new radiator. So really easy, just like that, as I do this one-handed. So just like that, and transfer that to the new one. You're gonna do that for both sides. Now, so let's talk through the next process here a little bit. But before we do that, let's look at the amount of garbage that's now on the floor. So that was not there before I brought this down. As you can see, there's a ton of debris up against, or on my radiator, because the radiator is sitting horizontal like this. So anything that comes through the front grille is going to land on this. So I'm assuming that my Zone Sport screens are going to do a better job at keeping more of that out moving forward. But this is such a simple thing to swing down if you have this plastic plate off that, you know, as much as I am underneath my car, I may do this once or twice a year just to swing it down to clean off any debris or rocks that come through. So now that said, and so go ahead and transfer those grommets. Let's talk about what the next steps are going to be. So I've got the new radiator out, and as you can see, when it's hanging in this position, it's going to pool, any oil in this is going to pool to the bottom with the connections at the top. So you've got this 10mm nut that holds both the intake and outtake hose in place. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to transfer, the way it hangs, you've kind of got a high side and a low side. I'm going to set up the new radiator sitting here on edge, all set up, ready to go with the new grommets. And then I'm going to pull this 10mm nut, and with one, while holding the radiator with one hand, and then very carefully pull out the feed and immediately transfer it to the new radiator that's going to be sitting right here. If I had four hands, I could show you all simultaneously, but I think if I explain it, you can see what it looks like. So what I want to do is I want to transfer this to lose as little oil as possible. Obviously this is going to be completely full of oil and there's oil up here in the hoses. So this transfer I want to do quickly. One, to make as little mess as possible, and two, to lose as little oil as possible as I go through this. So I'm going to back this nut off, carefully ease this hose off, and what I'm also probably going to do is I'm going to prop the corner of this radiator up, because obviously once that hose is off, this is going to be the low side. So I may prop it up, and then transfer it to the new one. So any oil that's leaking out here is going to leak directly into the new radiator, so I don't lose that oil. Okay, so hopefully that makes sense. So transfer your grommets, and then let's move this first hose. Okay, before I do this, I wanted to show you my setup. So as you can see, the new cooler is sitting in place, ready to go. I'm actually just using the foam that it came in the box. The old one is still hanging. I've loosened this 10mm nut, so it's ready to come off, but it's not going to come off completely yet. Now, the one thing you're going to want to do, now here are the plugs that were in the new ones. I'm going to put these into the old one as soon as I pull the hose out to help prevent oil from leaking. Also, you've got a couple of new rubber gaskets that are going to go on the ends, because you've got gaskets that fit on the ends. When you pull this hose out, you'll see the old gasket. So you'll want to use a pick tool, pull off the old gasket, put on a new one, and then insert it into the new cooler. Now, the other difference with this new one is where this one has a post on it that this nut goes onto right here. In this case, you're going to use a bolt to go down through this flange. So this is also 10mm. So I've got all of these ready to go with my 10mm wrench right there. Really simple. So I'm just going to pull that feed hose, put it into the new one, cap the old one so oil doesn't go all over the place, and replace that gasket, insert it in the new one, and then tighten it down into place. So anything that's leaking will be going into the new radiator, and then I'll do the same on the other side. So let me get the hose transferred from the old to the new, and then we'll do the other side. All right, so as you can see, the new one's hanging in the same position as the old one now. Not bolted up yet, but all I have to do is put those 3 bolts back in, and it's hung into place. So the process went basically like I suggested. Lost, as you can see, I've got a little bit of stain there. You estimate you're going to lose about a half quart of oil, so I'm going to replace that full half quart. There's still also a finite amount of oil in these hoses, so when you pull this first hose, there's a fair amount of oil that comes out. And what I did was actually held the hose and capped it with my thumb to try to prevent as much as possible for oil coming out. You know, I lost a little bit as I put the new gasket on. My existing gaskets are green, the new ones are black. Not that that makes a difference, but replace the gaskets, and it was nice to be able to tell which one's which. I've got the new bolts in. Those are 10mm bolts, and they're down into metal, so you can tell when they're tight. So they snug down, and then they're super tight. Make sure that this top bracket is flat when that bolt goes tight, and it should be, but just make sure, and on both sides, make sure it's in and flat. So that's good to go. And then at this point, it's pretty much just done. It's putting it back together. This is about as easy as it gets. The only complication in this is really making a little bit of a mess. So, you know, just prepare for that. You know, put some towels down to absorb any oil that you spill, and you're probably going to lose, like I said, about a half quart. Well, you're going to lose a half quart total no matter what. But try to keep as little of that off, you know, little of that on the ground as possible. So I'm going to put the 13mm back in, so I'll just swing this up into place, put those 3 in, then put all of those 18s all the way around and those 2 E10s right there and there, and you're all done. All right, you're almost done. Don't forget, you're down a half quart of oil, so you need to make sure to add that. So check what type of oil you have in your car before you do this, so you can add that back in. All in all, you can see this is not a hard project. You just have to take that off that lower plate, a couple of bolts, your radiator comes out. It's really easy to do. And it's something that can make a huge difference in your car, especially if you're gonna go to club events or track or live in a hot environment. Hey, thank you so much to Keys Motorsports for making this project possible. They are fantastic and should be your go-to location for looking for aftermarket and even OEM parts for your car. I really appreciate them. They work really hard, and they're a fantastic company. Thank you to Mishimoto for making a fantastic oil cooler that I'm really looking forward to having in my car. So don't forget, add that half quart of oil back in, put your car on the ground, and you're going to be good to go. Thank you for watching. I really appreciate it. Please make sure to click subscribe and the little alarm bell. It makes a huge difference to my channel as I have a ton of projects coming. I've always got something, and I look forward to seeing you on my next video.